So now this is kind of what we're going to be spending most of our time with, is talking about these like tools that can actually help you with decision making. So like we talked about budgeting last week, and um, the budget is the plan. Like the budget's about the future, and anytime you're trying to plan for the future, you have some known things that are coming down the pike that you know about. But a lot of it's kind of guesswork. And, whenever people in finance, especially, rely heavily on um, historical data and information and finding trends and patterns using like statistical analysis. And the only way that you can get good data and information is if you compile it somewhere. So last week I showed you an Excel spreadsheet, which Chelsea should still have. If anybody wants a copy of that wasn't here last week, I'm sure she can get that to you. But basically, what you're trying to do is aggregate your data, right? That's what these kind of websites do, is they aggregate your data. Now, with budgeting and just day-to-day cash flow, money management, there are plenty of options that are available. And now, like I was talking about earlier with online banking, a lot of your online banking platforms actually come embedded with some sort of tracking feature on them. So we have one of the credit union that's attached to your checking account, and it can actually monitor your checking transactions, and you can go in and classify, where these transactions are occurring and what bucket they fall in, what category they fall in. Again, the purpose of this is to give you data and information, to give you, the user, the spender, information about what your habits are and about where your money is going, where it's coming from, in order for you to make a better decision or choice or plan in the future. So if you're not gonna use this information to change your behavior, then I don't know what the point of it is. So usually you can do that through online banking. In most cases, I know Wells has them, and Bank of America, and like all JP Chase, all these guys have them as part of their online platform. You could also, if you have multiple different accounts at different places, you can also look for a third party option. One of the most popular ones is mint.com. That's MINT, mint.com. That's a company that's run by Intuit, the people that make TurboTax. So their security and online features are super, super advanced. And this is one that I have used in the past, but I don't currently use. Basically, like, you allow this software platform. It's all cloud-based. You don't get like a disk or anything. You allow this software to have access to your online banking logins, and then every time you log into Mint, it logs into your bank account or bank accounts or credit accounts or investment accounts, like all of it together, and then it pulls all that data in and spits out the information for you. Now, You Need a Budget is another one that's on the screen here. I don't think it says it anywhere, but this other one over on the other side is called You Need a Budget. Mint.com is free to use. You Need a Budget has a fee. They have an annual fee of, I think it's like $84 for the year. I'm one of the reasons I stopped doing Mint is because I'm really skeptical about any free resources, especially that have to do with my money. Mainly just because, like, I understand what that business model is. Like, if they're not charging me directly, then that means that they're making their money off of something else, which is either trafficking my data or selling my data and information, or what's called like affiliate links. So they'll say like, hey, you could save this amount of money if you open this account or start this credit card or whatever. Credit Karma is something that's it's a free to monitor your credit, and it says they're not trying to hide, like, this is their business model, is like they will give you credit offers for your data and information, and that's how they make money, is by you clicking on links and stuff like that. I've never used, but I've heard You Need a Budget, or YNAB, is like phenomenal. Like, that's one that I've always been kind of intrigued to use. A classic one too is also Quicken. That's a classic software package. They used to just sell it in like discs, and every year you can get an updated version. Really very helpful for tax time and tax purposes. And that's Quicken is the personal version. QuickBooks is the one, like, if you end up going into practice on your own, or if you have side business or something like that, QuickBooks is the version that's typically used by most small business owners to help with that. And it's very important for keeping track of like your taxes and like all that kind of stuff. So these are just some common things that are out there. Again, figure out what their business model is, and you'll figure out like how they make money and how that impacts you as a consumer. Always make sure you're reading disclosures and information sharing documentation, like as financial institutions, or people dealing with financial institutions, there's a lot of laws around that. So they have to tell you. Okay, so kind of moving on to the next step are these additional other types of platforms around saving and investing. So these are starting to get into like robo-advising and giving you advice, but basically these are features. They kind of target, a lot of them target college students or younger people that may not have a ton of money but are trying to get involved in investing and saving. Acorns is one that just like rounds up your, you link it to an account that you use and it rounds up your change and starts to deposit it into either like a savings account or an investment account. Digit is something that's pretty cool. It actually analyzes your spending and gives you suggestions or recommendations on when to save. It's like, hey, we noticed that you're not spending as much this month on, we're actually looking at a feature like that at the credit union we're testing it out where we can, use algorithms and, kind of some artificial intelligence or algorithmic, software to do these kinds of things, like nudge people into or suggest people into like making additional savings, things like that. Capital and Robinhood, these are like, additional things, companies that you may have heard of. Robinhood is really all about like free, super low cost, free investing. So, trying to really democratize investing, which always be cautious whenever you're investing. Like you hear these warnings all the time, like nothing's ever guaranteed, and these things are not like, anytime you're investing in anything that's not just a checking account or a savings account, it's not federally insured, and so you're always at risk of loss and things like that. So just make sure that you're comfortable with the level of risk that you're taking. Like I wouldn't necessarily take all of your cash and put it into like, Zoom stock or something like that. Yeah, it's been doing good, but like that's the kind of thing. I got a few friends of mine that like to day trade, and I'm on a text thread with them, and they're always talking about like, hot stock tips and things like that. And I'm an investor, not a trader, so I don't trade. I don't have E-Trade or any of that kind of stuff personally. It's always interesting though, listening to what they're saying. And as medical professionals, again, like you're going to have people that are going to come to you. I don't mean to generalize this. This is a kind of common thing, like, a relative or somebody in your social circles. They're like, talk to you about like stock tips and investment opportunities and things like that. Always err on the side of skepticism in those scenarios, because I promise you this, there's nothing that's guaranteed. Nothing is guaranteed except you got to pay taxes, and someday you're going to die. Death and taxes. That's the only thing that's guaranteed. Now, taking that another step further, beyond like tools that just kind of help you save, are these new features around like investment management. So once you really start to accumulate some wealth and you're managing your student loans and all these kinds of things, traditionally this has been the purview of financial advisors, like professional human beings that are paid to do this. Professional human beings that are paid to do this typically charge a lot of fees, or they are brokers. So like an advisor, a financial advisor who has a fiduciary standard, is somebody that's usually like a fee-only advisor, not fee-based, not partial fee, but fee-only advisor, where you pay them a portion of your assets or a flat fee per year, like an annual retainer kind of deal. And or some of them are like venue-based, like you meet with them once or twice and they have an hourly rate, things like that. But that they're not earning any additional commission off of selling products. Like a broker is somebody that sells investment products, so annuities and life insurance and insurance products and things like that. They make commissions. They have to tell you this, and there's nothing wrong with that. You just make sure you know what you're getting into. So recently, like fairly recently, software engineers have figured out that there are a lot of the ways that finance people were calculating and running numbers and doing these analyses and things like that are software engineers have figured out ways that they can kind of automate a lot of that. And so in order for them to do that, because they're able to do that, they're not paying an individual person. They're able to set this up to be done automatically. And so they're able to really reduce the amount of fees that are being charged. So this is what's called robo-advising. And you'll see some examples up here. a lot of the major brokerage firms like Fidelity and Vanguard and places like this now have an arm or a feature that has this kind of capacity. So you don't necessarily have to meet with a person. You can just get generic advice based on that. So, again, the fee structures are different at all of these different places. The features and benefits that each of them provide. So some of the benefits that you'll receive from some of these things are like, tax advice, like how to most efficiently utilize your taxes and reduce your tax burden, things like that. Also, like, when it comes to like allocations of resources and things like that, or allocation of assets and like what you're buying, and are you diversified, and index funds and ETFs and individual stocks and all these kinds of things. Like, you want to make sure that you're diversified, but these kinds of platforms can kind of help you with that, just like a person would. And some of them do, like, that's where some of them make their money, is like if you do want to talk to a human, then they'll charge a fee for that.